Hi, my name is Sarah Chung and I'm a high school math teacher from Southern California. So earlier today, I was just scrolling through Instagram and I noticed that my school district put out like a little calendar of events for the month of May. And because it is Mental Health Awareness Month, they wanted to give some ideas for exercises that our students can do. And two of them, starting today, actually dealt with career options. And I think today's specifically says like to envision yourself in the future and what do you see yourself doing for a career. I am absolutely in love with teaching. Every single aspect of this job is something that has always been so rewarding and so fulfilling to me. And if there is any way that I'm able to convince more people to consider this as a career path, I want to be able to do that. This world just needs more people who are passionate about education and teaching, who have a desire to motivate young people and to really make an impact in another person's life. Every single year, I have at least a handful of students come up to me and tell me that they actually want to be a teacher, or more specifically, I always have at least one or two students say that they want to be a high school math teacher. I also have a lot of friends who are curious about teaching because they're considering a career change, or I have friends reach out to me because they have family members or other friends that they'd like me to speak to regarding my experience in teaching because that's something that they're considering. So this is for like basically anyone who is interested, whether you're a high school student who is still trying to figure out what you want to do with your life and considering teaching as an option, or you're a college student majoring in education or you're considering education, a person who's considering a career change, or any of the above. This video is really just for all of you. So I sat down and I really thought about like what are the most significant characteristics of successful teachers? And number one is, are you a patient person? There are over 200 students that walk through my class every single day, and you can only imagine, like, because I teach math specifically, how wide the range of their content knowledge really is. And sometimes you're sitting in class and a student asks you a question, then another student asks that exact same question, and then you explain an answer in 10 different ways, and after the 10 ways where you thought that they must know it by now, someone's gonna still say, I don't get it. And can you imagine if a teacher said, how do you still not get it? Or if they were discouraging to you in any way? You have to be patient through all of that. You have to be able to understand that kids aren't gonna get it the first time, 10th time even that you teach it to them. So really consider in your day-to-day life, like, do you feel like you are patient with the people around you? Are you patient around your friends and family members? Because that will come out in the classroom as well. Number two, do you handle criticism well? So almost every day, you're gonna have someone tell you you're not doing a good enough job, whether it's an administrator, it's another teacher, parents especially, or even your own students. You're not good enough, or you're not as good as another teacher is at delivering that content, or you overhear a student just straight up say that they don't like you. And obviously, we're only human. These words are gonna hurt, and there's no denying that fact, but are you okay just kind of letting them go sometimes? It's okay to feel the pain and feel the hurt, but at the end of the day, it's your job to be professional and to sometimes just let these things go and know that it really might not be personal. 3, are you flexible? Every single day, a teacher probably makes over 1,000 decisions. You're constantly making adjustments, and no two lessons that you deliver are ever going to be the same because the students in your class aren't the same. And you have to be okay with the fact that things just won't always go according to plan. The best example of this is probably like this entire coronavirus pandemic that we're all living through right now. We had to figure out a way within one weekend how to go from a physical classroom setting like the one I'm currently in onto an online distance learning platform where we now had to scrap all the lessons plans that we had created for the year, all the guest speakers, all the assemblies that we had, all of that we had to be flexible and know it's just gonna go away, and we had to roll with the punches and be okay with all of that. So when you think to your personal life, how would that look? When you're dealt with a plan that doesn't go accordingly, are you able to still be flexible and know that, hey, this is part of life and it's gonna be okay? 4, are you empathetic? Personally, I think that this is one of the most important characteristics of a good teacher, and let me explain why. You have parents and students that will say the wrong thing sometimes, or frankly, just piss you off. We're human too, and we feel emotions, but are you able to empathize with the fact that this student or this parent really didn't mean any harm with the words that they said and the words that were coming out of their mouth? You have to realize that these parents and students that you're dealing with on a regular basis are human. They're hurting and they're also fighting their own battles. Maybe they had a hard day or a hard month or even a hard year, and what they said wasn't ever meant to hurt you, but it's because they're really hurting. And in that moment, are you able to stop and empathize with them as opposed to lashing out or getting angry or getting frustrated with them and the situation at hand? One example of this in your personal life is when you're just out and about living your day-to-day life and you come across someone that says something just so uncalled for. They're rude to you, or they disrespect you, or they say something and you have no idea what you did to cause that anger. But are you able to stop and, instead of lashing back out at them, consider the fact that they are fighting some battle of their own, and what they said to you really was nothing personal at all. They're really just lashing out over their own frustrations. How do you deal with situations like those? Because on a day-to-day basis, especially dealing with high school students, they are all dealing with their own personal demons. They will say something to you because honestly, their prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed yet, and they're still trying to learn to manage and navigate through their own emotions, and we have to just empathize with them. 5, are you okay with being around people all the time? This is obviously not an exaggeration. I step into my classroom at 7:30 a.m. and I do not have a moment to myself until I walk out to my car at 4 p.m. I have 200 students walk through my classroom every day. I have 13 other coworkers that I work with in my math department specifically. There are custodians, there are other teachers, there are other students from other classes that you're going to be speaking and interacting with. Are you okay with the fact that you're just not gonna have a normal 9-to-5 job at a desk where you could choose who you talk to and when you talk to them? One thing I want to mention though is that this is not the same as being an introverted person. The two don't really go hand in hand. When you're an introverted person, you get energy from being alone, and when you're extroverted, you get energy and you feed off of the energy of the people around you. There are so many wonderful and amazing teachers who by nature are more introverted, and that doesn't mean that they don't have a personality or that they're shy. That just means that maybe at the end of the day they need to take a nap at home when they are done interacting with 200 plus people. And please don't let your personality type be the one thing that drives you away from teaching. You can definitely be a fantastic teacher as an introverted person. And I mean, most of my coworkers, I would say, by nature are introverted, and I think that they're just amazing as well. 6, are you organized and do you have good time management skills? When you teach 6 periods a day and you have 200 plus students, that means that at a minimum, you're dealing with 200 papers. And trust me, it goes into the thousands when it's beyond just one sheet of paper that you're giving your students. And you've probably heard this before, but as much as being a teacher is about the interaction and the connections that we have with our students and the actual teaching of our content to our students, another aspect is actually administrative, to be honest. A lot of it is inputting grades, grading homework assignments, responding to emails, having conferences. It's a lot of admin work, and you need really good time management skills in order to organize all of that and not allow this job to take over every single waking hour of your day. 7, do you have a good memory? To be honest, I don't know if this really comes down to effort or if it's actually your memory, but like I mentioned many times already, I have 200 students, and every single one of these people they're human beings and they have a name. You can't go through your school year not knowing every single student's name by heart. And if you don't know hobbies and their interests and what they do on campus, it's really hard for them to think and know that you care about them. And a great teacher is one who is able to show their students that they really care. And lastly, number 8, does the idea of teaching bring you joy? So I'm not trying to be Marie Kondo over here, but this really isn't a profession that you pick because of the vacation or the time off that you get, or because something else just didn't work out. You really have to be passionate about teaching, education, and learning. Otherwise, this job is probably gonna burn you out and you're gonna wanna quit after your first year. And if any of your answers to these questions were no, I really hope that that doesn't turn you away from a career in teaching. If you had asked me 7 years ago when I first started student teaching, I would have probably said no to a lot of these questions too, like, am I a patient person? Probably not. Am I empathetic? Not really. And even now, 7 years later and 6 years deep into actually teaching in my classroom, I still don't know if I can answer yes confidently to every single one of these questions every day. But what's so great is that these are characteristics and traits that you can learn. No one is perfect for a career when they decide what they want to do with their life. We are all constantly growing and developing in our character. And if you really feel like deep in your gut that this is the profession that you are called to do, I think you already know the answer to this question. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video gave you some insight into teaching, and I really hope that you consider teaching for your future career. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.